gonna be my #1 tips for nailing headstand. This has been a requested video, and while I already have an inversion workshop up on Patreon for those in the higher tier levels, this is a little bit different because it says A, just focusing on headstand, and B, this is for someone who already maybe has a headstand practice or they've been working on it a long time, but is just struggling to nail it, just struggling to really stick it and be comfortable in it. So something really important to know about headstand is think about what position you are in when you are doing this pose. When you're doing headstand, your arms are not here, your arms are not here, your arms are not here. We're not doing tripod headstand today. Your arms are here, right? This is up and overhead. Now, those of you who take my classes a lot should know what that means. When your arms are up and overhead, your scapula is not drawing away from the ears. Your scapula is drawing upwards. So you're engaging this muscle here. You're using, by pulling your ribs in, engaging your core, you're engaging your serratus anterior, you're engaging your lats, you're engaging the spine muscles that help to elevate your scapula upwards, thus lifting your head away from the floor. If you're pulling your shoulders down, what's happening? Your head is going to be on the ground, which, despite the fact of being called headstand, the safest and best way you can do headstand for years and years and years for the rest of your life is to put almost no weight on the cervical spine. Can you lift weights with your cervical spine? Probably not. This area of the body is not very strong and can't handle a whole lot of weight bearing. The pads in between the vertebrae are not that big. We need to take care of this area of the spine, and by repeatedly rolling around on it and pressing our entire body weight into it, we're not going to be doing it any favors. So what I want you to think about when you are in your headstand, now it's important to remember it's a lot easier to do this because gravity and your entire body weight is not on it, right? It's easy to go kind of course it in and push your scapula up so that your head gets elevated. Not very challenging to do when you're sitting up, but when you're on the ground, you're fighting your body weight, you're fighting gravity. So a thing you can work on is dolphin pose, tapping your head down, pushing it away. Tap down, pushing it away. Same thing with downward dog is with the scapula, shoulders behind you, shoulders up and overhead. Or excuse me, not behind you. Shoulders drawing down and then shoulders drawing up. Same thing, but in downward facing dog. That's a really good way to strengthen your serratus anterior, strengthen your lats, strengthen all those really important muscles, even some of your traps, to help strengthen and tone up those areas so that you can find more stability in your shoulder girdle. So let's go ahead and start to get onto our mats. Okay, so once I go up, my legs might be a little bit cut off, but you should be able to get the gist from here. So we're gonna start with our hand placement. Little tip, you can see when you cross your hands, your pinky finger is underneath, and that's gonna create an imbalance. So take that bottom pinky and tuck it in, like that. Now you've got a nice flat surface. The next thing is wrists together or separate. It's honestly completely your preference. What do I prefer? I prefer together. I think together feels more secure for the back of my skull. You can even try it. Put your hands exactly where mine are right now, interlace, bring them up behind you, and play with it. Hands separated for me makes my elbows feel too wide, and it makes me feel like I lose a lot of stability here. Wrists together helps me kind of like zipper up the arms a lot more and find a little bit more intensity as I squeeze the hands together, a little bit more of that towards the midline sensation. The next thing that's really, really important, I just held up the #2, I'm probably on tip #5, is elbow width. I think the #1 thing I see across social media is I think the #1 thing I see across the board on social media of people trying to do headstand is elbows are too wide. A lot of people think the wider the elbows, the more supportive the base is going to be. That's completely false in this situation. You want to think about like a folded piece of paper. Think about a folded piece of paper in a triangle like this. The wider it is, the less stable it is, right? But the more it's kind of in a tall triangle position, it's going to be a lot stronger of a piece of paper or like a card tower, right? It's the same thing with your arms. You want your elbows in line with the shoulders, and that's it. It's pretty simple. I was gonna add something onto that, but there's nothing else to add. They can be a tiny bit, like if this feels too tight, especially if you're tighter in the chest, that's okay, bring them a little bit wider. But you just don't wanna be out here. You don't even wanna be out here. You wanna be nice and compact here. Very little space for the head, honestly. And this is gonna really help you elevate that scapula. Okay, and then the next thing, ribs need to be pulling in. You can try and think about navel to spine all you want, but if your ribs are flaring out, your serratus anterior is not going to be firing. Your serratus anterior is not gonna be working, and that muscle is what helps glue your rib cage to your trunk. And the more trunk-like your trunk is, the stronger it will be and the more stable it will be. So something really important you want to think about is ribs drawing in. You want to think like you're wearing a corset. You want to think you want to almost think like you're rounding the back, but you're not, because if you round the back, you're going to roll the cervical spine forward. So I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer, and I'm going to get upside down so I can show you. So before we're doing any kicking up, I just want to show you my foundation. My hands are interlaced a few inches away from the wall, and I've tucked my pinky finger in. Now, I'm relaxing my head down, and you can see right now I'm slouching in my shoulders, so I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna think about trying to push my head away from the floor by pushing away. So it's like I'm broadening my scapula, they're going up and overhead, and I'm pushing firmly through my elbows and my pinky fingers. Just by doing that, you should feel your rib cage kind of magnetize upwards. Then I'm gonna lower the crown of my head down. Really important is if you're too far forward, you can look at my neck. Let me pull my sweatshirt down. It's kind of cold in here, so I'm wearing it. If I go too far forward, look at my neck. See how it's rolling forward? I see this a lot, neck like this, and people are kicking up into it. Hell no. We want this neck to still continue to have a nice C shape. Cervical spine, C shape, right? So you want to come to the flat part of the head, if not slightly forward of it, to the crown. I'm going to keep that pulling of the rib cage up, and I'm going to keep that firm press of the elbows down, so that if I wanted to, maybe someone could slide a piece of tissue paper under my head. My head isn't even touching the ground right now. Then I'm gonna tuck my toes under and straighten my legs. Now, if you cannot support this, then you're not gonna be able to do headstand. You need to be able to support this for at least a little bit. Before resting your head down, you can keep pressing firmly through your elbows. From there, you can start to walk your feet in as much as possible. Now, something important, if you're back here, you got tighter hamstrings, you got a lot further of a way to go. Those who are more open in the hips and hamstrings, you can see my hips are already over my shoulders, and then I can bring one leg up and then the other really, really easily because I'm already stacked. So something that can really help with headstand is hamstring flexibility. That ability to be upside down in your headstand stance and be able to get your hips over your shoulders. If you want to work on piking up, you need to be able to get your hips past your shoulders, so almost to the wall, in order to offset the weight of your legs and pike up. Though we're not there yet. We're just working on getting up into a nice, strong, happy headstand. The most important thing, truly, is the neck. So often I see the neck in this rolled forward position as people are coming up. I really can't emphasize enough. Try maybe going slightly more forward. You're not on the forehead, but you're just not back here. A little bit more on the flat part, or maybe a little bit forward, so that you can really keep that integrity of the C-spine and focus intensely on pressing through the elbows and lifting the scapula up towards the ears. Okay. So now I'm going to talk you through the legs and getting upright. So I'm going to push you away a little bit. So now when it comes to kicking up, like I said before, no flailing, No kicking, no thumping. You should be able to come up against the wall with almost no sound at all before you start moving to the center of a room. So if you want to, you can watch, then pause and do it on your own, or you're welcome to follow along with me if you have good proprioception, meaning you can listen to what I'm saying and put it to work. So first, elbows under the shoulders. They're not here, they're not here, they're boom. And I'll change the direction of my camera at some point so you can really see how close together mine are. Then your head is gonna come and nestle in between your forearms. Back of the wrists are supporting the back of the head, okay? Then I'm gonna tuck my toes. I'm gonna pull my rib cage up, press through my elbows so that my head isn't even touching the ground. And then I'm gonna straighten up. So it's almost like I'm coming in a dolphin pose. Now my head is starting to touch the ground a little bit more. I'm gonna press into my elbows even firmer and walk my feet up. I'm gonna bend my left heel into my butt. And then I'm just gonna rock up into the tiptoes of my right foot, give a couple little presses. Then I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna bend my right heel in, give a couple little presses. Good. Then maybe you come down, take a second. That felt really challenging. Keep doing that, please. Coming back into it. Elbows shoulder width, head down. Pressing through the elbows, straightening the legs. Gonna pull my left heel into my butt. Notice it's not here. This is really important. My knee isn't pointing forward. My knee is pointing to the ground. Then I'm gonna bring my right leg in to meet it. So this is called teddy bear. Ribs drawing in, push through the elbows. And then you start to flex the feet, push straight up with the heels like there's a tray of food on your feet and you're trying to hold it steady. Good, engage the glutes, squeeze your heels together, squeeze your feet together. Draw your front ribs in. Good, engage the glutes, squeeze your heels together, squeeze your feet together. Draw your front ribs in. Good. Stay here as long as you can. Once you get tired, one foot comes down and then the other. So by bringing, it's really hard to talk while I'm upside down doing it. So going back in time, that teddy bear position is so essential. So often when I see people trying to kick up, they're doing what I showed with the knee pointing out. So when they try to kick up, they think, oh, I pull my foot in, so I do this. This is not what you want. This is not going to engage your core whatsoever. This is engaging your core, right? This is like turbo dog. And from downward dog, stepping the foot forward, it's that transition. You're using your thigh, you're flexing your foot, you're using your hip flexors, and your core is one here to help you. So you're not pushing your knee forward, you're not pushing your knee up. Your knee should be pointing down towards the ground, creating that hugging in sensation. And then start with one, and you can straighten the other leg maybe. Those with tighter hamstrings, having one leg teddy beared and the other leg straight up can be a little tight. So that's where doing double teddy bear works, where both legs are pulled in and you can hang out there. And then the energy to push up comes from squeezing your legs together, flexing your feet, and pushing straight up, okay? So I'm gonna switch the direction of the camera so you can see that again from a different point of view. Oh shit, this isn't good. All right, good thing this is on Patreon and not on YouTube. Okay, so as you can see, look how close my elbows are, right? Super close, super narrow. One foot, then the other. Right? And then the instinct is butt back, knees go forward like they are now. Nope. Keep your tailbone tucking, keep your knees pushing down towards the ground, hugging into your chest, and then push straight up through the heels. Keep drawing those front ribs in once you're up. Squeeze your butt cheeks together. So it's like you're trying to pull your ribs to your spine and push your hips forward. And then you can come down one foot at a time. So those are my number one tips for headstand. I hope you guys found that useful and maybe got a new tip out of that. Just quick and snappy. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments and I'm happy to help you. But just to go back, number one, elbow shoulder width distance. Number two, scapula lifting towards the ears. Don't try and draw them away. Number 3, head barely touching the ground. Number 4, teddy bear, at least one leg at a time. So your spine is rounding and you're using your quads, you're using your hip flexors. And then 5, to press up, double teddy bear, feet squeeze together, press up. Those are my number 1 tips. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned something new. See you next time. Namaste.